I'm going to show you here how to print and bind these yardage books in a simple fashion. Here's obviously just my comparative analysis from my personal stats page. And over here on the left in our new layout, you can see we're going to click on the thing where it says yardage books. I'm going to print out Lantana, which is where I'm playing pre-qualifying. You can see it auto-populates. Sometimes you got to monkey around with the name a little bit. Here you can see that we've got the strokes gained benchmarks, PGA Tour, LPGA, etc., distance rings. We're working on getting these to where we can set them up from the back of any tee boxes. So far it's been a little bit challenging to get the tee boxes in order, but this is one thing Chris is diligently working on. And once you click the next button, you'll see it pops up, generate yardage book if you just want to use it in your phone. And then collated version would be where you can actually print it like I'm about to illustrate. Let's go ahead and speed this up. Perfect. You can see that it started at 145 seconds. We've now got 30 seconds remaining. That is under 2 minutes to download the PDF. Click on the download link, and once you get that, it'll pop up in the bottom left hand of your screen typically. And here you go, Lantana. Now you'll notice these first pages are upside down. That's because when you print and then fold them together, they will collate together perfectly. Now here I am just back at the cover sheet, and I'm going to right click, print. It'll come up with this on the side. Want to make sure that we are using legal size paper. It will cut and is the exact size limits that the USGA is required. I'm going to print custom, and I'm going to print page 1 through 11 for starters, and then I'll flip it over. Now let's watch what that looks like. So here it is printing page 1 through 11, and the way that magazines work, the way that these yardage books work, when you fold them together, obviously the top of page 1 is the bottom of page 18 or whatever. The only hole that's actually the same page is number 9 in the dead center of the book. For me personally, I sweat a ton. I use 20 pound just regular, cheap, legal size paper here. I need to take that up to probably a 30 pound legal paper, because even with those nice fancy leather bound yardage book covers, I actually sweat all the way through that thing yesterday in pre-qualifying. And so I need to use probably a little bit heavier weight paper for this time of year. We're also working on darkening the grid lines, a few other things. But as you're going to see here, now I take it out and I turn it around and I put it right back into the feeder. That's because of the way the pages are collated together. And this way now the first page that's going to come off the top is hole number 9, and it's going to be printed with the bottom part of 8 and the top part of 10. And so now as the pages come out on top of each other, they're perfectly organized together to where once this finishes, I'll just pick the book up, I'll take it to my stapler. We'll see that in a second. But the other things that we're working on are getting the coaching moments to be able to select and come through. We've had a little bit more trouble with the distance rings than we were hoping. The data provider has a bunch of the tee boxes out of order, which is really throwing a wrench in that. We're working hard on it, but that's why the few other little added features are kind of delayed right now. You can see right there, though, is the legend. And now I'm going to take it out. It's done. You can see that's page 9 in the middle. All I need to do now is come over here to the deep throw stapler that I bought. You can see it's a deeper range to be able to staple 7 inches in. Legal paper is 14 inches long. You set that little reminder there at the end at 7 inches. That will put it right in the middle. We're also setting up grid lines so that way you can see it if you've got a different way to staple it. Once I've stapled it in the middle, I'm stapling it first 4 times, because when you cut paper that's that thick as a stack, it winds up shifting it. So if you staple it, it holds it all in place. Next up, we obviously move the stapler out of the way. I've got my scissors, and so I'm cutting from the edge of the paper in towards the middle, because again, it's stapled in the middle, and by cutting from the outside in, the paper can't shift. So I cut the one book. Again, we're putting grid lines in there right now, but as of now, if you just cut it along the edge of the color of the paper, it's 3.5 inches thick. The USGA guidelines are 4.25 inches by 7 inches. Obviously, folded paper that's 14 inches will be 7 inches long. So this makes it the proper width. I'm cutting from both sides. I turned it around to again cut in towards the middle because the paper is held in place in the middle by the staples, so it winds up cutting very clean, even just with some jankety kitchen scissors. Oops. But once I've finished cutting it, now you can see page 9 is in the middle. I fold it. I've got my cover sheet. Again, I'm going to personally get some waterproof cover sheets. You can see there's the mental notes and coaching moments that we're going to be putting in there. Obviously, it's brand new paper, hard for me to get it to pull apart, but there's the legend. Here we go through the holes all the way through to hole number 9 in the middle and all the way through to the end. And the back of the book is what I think is neat. It's a grid for how far you hit your irons. I think that this is just, I've been amazed at how little people really understand how far they hit the golf ball and the importance of knowing those numbers. This is now the actual book in my yardage book that I said I filmed this yesterday morning before I went and played. That's the book that I sweat all the way through because it's hot and humid. It's the proper width, it fits perfectly, and that is how you make your decade yardage books. Thanks a ton for being part of this process. We really did spend a lot of money trying to figure out a way to essentially make the app pay for itself. We recognize it's not the cheapest app on earth, but considering everything you get with statistics, strategy, updated content, and now free yardage books, I really believe this app not only is free, but it actually more than pays for itself. I've got a thing that I believe in from Tony Robbins called CANI, which is constant and never-ending improvement. That's the goal with the Decade app and all the features we keep on building in without raising our price. If you have anything that you need to have help with, obviously, or if you see any flaws in the yardage book, we really do need feedback. There are definitely going to be some errors with holes and whatnot out there. The provider that we are using for the GPS data, they're really good at turning around updates to courses within about 48 hours. What I would suggest doing is going and at least reviewing the courses. You know, you got to do some work to play good golf. Go review the courses a couple weeks in advance that you have upcoming for tournaments, and if there are some errors, again, they do a great job of keeping them updated, but obviously renovations, bunker renovations, sometimes it's a little easy to get behind on all 44,000 courses in the world. So please, we're looking for feedback. If you've got some ideas that you think are really revolutionary, we've got things like, again, adjusting the distance rings. We're working on having, if you've got a lake on the left and your driving ring is 300 yards, putting a blue dot out there 32 yards away from the hazard in order to line up with the driving decision tree and how we teach driving. We've got things like that in works, but please send us any and all feedback you've got. I'll shut up now. Thanks as always for being part of the Decade team, and I'm really, really excited with how this turned out. I really can't believe that we've created such a cool product. It's pretty neat in my opinion. Thanks again.